Woohoo! We're live.
Live from the internet. That's right. It's your host, the one, the only, live from Audit, Mr. Mike Brooks. Mike, tell him who the guest is.
Today, my guest is Todd Billiar from IT by Design, the awesome, the booth babe, the man, the myth, the legend.
Oh, and the guy with the point. I hear
And
he's got something called the point.
Billiar point, right? That's what
There
we call
it is. There it is. Let's see if we get. Oh, hold on. It's got to go there. There it is. Oh, there he is.
Love it. So thank you, everybody who's joining us live while we're recording this. We are going to actually start I'm going to explain, set the table for what we're doing here. We're going to record this as a podcast, which I normally do. If you listen to the show, you know that the Elevating IT podcast is recorded usually live. I would say 50 to 75% of the time, depending on the month. So I'm going to do that. I've got a brand new board, so I got the ability to kind of mix this as we're going. Makes it easy. So I'm going to do an intro, and then we're going to kick off the show. So Todd, I'm going to shoot it to you to do the intro.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whenever you're listening to this wonderful podcast. Now, my name is Todd Billiar. I'm the Director of Channel Partnerships for IT by Design, which is a fancy way of saying, that's right, Todd's the booth babe. But as a booth babe, what's my experience? I have over 25 years here in the MSP channel. I have worked everything from being a field engineer to running marketing, being actively involved in recruiting and retention of the staff for organizations of all different sizes, both on the MSP side and the vendor side. So I am looking forward to sharing some tidbits of knowledge today. We might even drop a point in there somewhere, the Billiar point.
And now here's this episode of the Elevating IT podcast, sponsored by Audit.
Woohoo! All right. We are live with my good friend Todd. Thank you for doing a little intro for me, Todd. And thank you so much for being on here. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. You know, I did stay at a Holiday Inn last night. I had no idea it included an appearance here on a podcast. Woo!
Yes. And we're going to talk today about recruiting and retaining sales talent. Really, really important topic. And nobody I can think of to talk about this better than you. I mean, you've got a ton of, and I'm going to kind of, you did an intro for me, so I don't have to introduce you, but I got to say, I've known you for a long time now. And listen, you sold me to come to IT by Design as a vendor. We've been a vendor at your a couple times now. And I feel like you are a friend, not a salesperson to me. And that's a sign of a person that really knows the business, knows how to sell, and approaches it from the right perspective. And you're great at all those things. I watch you at these events, and I watch how you operate. I watch how you treat your peers, your customers, your people above you, people below you. You're fantastic. So I can't think of anybody better to talk about this stuff than you.
Man, you're making me blush. You're making me blush. But yeah, no, Mike, I view, the channel is just a group of friends. And, I'm a firm believer that people do business with people they trust and they like, more importantly. You may not be the low cost provider. A lot of times you're not, but they have that level of trust and that carries a lot of weight. So, but building relationships, that friendship, that is step one in both recruiting and retention, because without that, you don't really have a lot.
Right. And do me a favor, just before we get rolling into this, tell us a little bit about what IT by Design is, because
Absolutely.
I think people are going to want to know.
Absolutely. IT by Design is a master MSP based out of Jersey City, New Jersey. We provide talent, technical talent. It might be, in a shared model, we provide a 24/7 help desk, 24/7 knock. And we also have MSP trained engineers. Those are in a dedicated model. They're your employees sitting in our office in a nutshell. You manage them. They're on your phone system. They're in your PSA. They're in your RMM. But what we do before you even interview them, we run them through a 2-month-long boot camp where we teach them how to use the PSA, the RMM, and how to work inside a MSP. So we are a talent company. We like to say IT by Design, the people company.
And you guys run a great event. As I said, we were sponsors at your event virtually. and then live. And it was a great time. You guys like rented out Liberty Island, man. That was like I'll always remember that. That was great.
Oh yeah, I've been to many, almost too many industry events, but I have to say that's the first one that I can recall that it was done at at an IT channel event, rented out a national landmark.
That was very cool.
Yeah.
And because you guys do knock, do you want to hear a knock joke?
Who's there?
Spock.
Spock who?
Spock can't even understand all the technical mumbo jumbo in your presentations. That was a little knock audit joke.
Moving on.
Little crickets there. All right. So we got to say, turn off the crickets. Boy, the crickets we got to say hi to some people. Lisa Compton. What's up?
Hey, Miss Lisa up in the house. How you doing, Lisa? Thanks for joining us.
Who else is joining us? Tech Ache Solutions and Consulting. What's up? Wow. So, Todd, why should people care about even recruiting talent at all, sales talent at all?
The number one limiting factor to the growth of any organization is people. It's the ability to recruit and retain quality talent, be it in sales or engineering, operations. If, as an owner, if you're so busy working in the business, you're not going to have the time to work on the business and grow the business. And in today's incredibly tight labor market, it's hard to recruit people, specifically great people. As I like to say, good talent today is only unemployed as long as they choose to be. It is a candidate's market. So as an employer, you have to figure out how to stand out, how to target, how to sell your opportunity to the talent. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today.
Awesome. Do you think like your typical MSP that you meet, do they have salespeople? Do they want salespeople? Like, I know a lot of owners that are the salesperson and they're running, in a million different directions. They're trying to scale their business and they're also out there doing and selling. Like, what do you see as far as that goes?
I would say that there are a lot of owner-led sales organization. And I think a lot of it comes down to is I think, Mike, you do a lot of shows, you meet a lot of MSP owners just like I do. A lot of them are, what I almost like to call accidental entrepreneurs. They were engineering types that, broke out, decided they could do it better on their own. And they went down the technical side, but they've never, they were never really trained properly in how to interview and manage salespeople. So they're, they tried and they failed. And now they just figure, well, there's no way I can get a salesperson. But with the right knowledge and the right experience, they absolutely could build that sales force and get themselves out of that day-to-day and really help catapult their business to the next level.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. What's this? How do we start? Where do we start?
I like to say that the first step of any recruiting process is understand who you want to recruit. And today we're going to focus on sales. So you have to have a clearly defined job description. And, instead of doing it as just a whole bunch of text thrown on a paper, must have this many years experience, break it out into a job scorecard where it shows, what amount of time they're going to do in each one of the categories. How much time is going to be spent prospecting? How much time is going to be spent putting the proposals together? What is the expected percentage of closing? And let's make sure that those goals that you put together in that job description job scorecard, let's make them smart. They're specific, they're measurable, they're attainable, they're realistic, and they're time bound. They have to be smart. And when it comes to the quotas, they have to be attainable. Adam Slushkin, one of my great friends, he probably is not a better CRO in the channel today. He talks a lot about, how at the end of the year, an organization's got to look at what percentage of the salespeople made goal and what missed it, what went over. And really that should help steer your next year's goal. What are those realistically attainable goals? Because if you put totally unrealistic goals in front of a person, you're just going to break their morale and they're going to leave. They're going to go find somewhere. At the end of the day, people really just want to love their job. They want to get up and be excited to go to work. So it starts with that job description and understanding what is the role and therefore what is the type of person you want to hire. And then from there, we have to go out and we have to find the talent. So let's talk about a couple of creative ways. You know, when I would give presentations about what to look for when recruiting sales talent, one of my favorite tips to share is when you go rent your car, rent it from Enterprise. And no, I'm not sponsored by Enterprise, but Enterprise has one of the best sales training programs out there. And if you think about it, they're selling a service. And in today's MSP world, what are we selling? Services. And what are they trained to do? They're trained to do the upsell and add on this and explain why you need that. And, the peace of mind you're going to get by buying that insurance. It's a lot of the same stuff we do here in the MSP world. So Enterprise Car Rental, probably my favorite tidbit to share with folks. Also, look for candidates that played competitive sports at the college level. And the reason I like that is those individuals, especially if they got a scholarship and they went to school on a scholarship for sports, they're team players. They understand they have to learn a playbook. They have to practice. They have the discipline to play at that level. And again, let's go back to the first thing I said. They are competitive. They have that drive to win. So those type of individuals that played competitive sports at a high level, they generally will make a great salesperson personality.
That's very interesting. And that makes perfect sense. They're competitive, right? They're people who compete, obviously, and that's important for a salesperson. But I didn't think about the other things like that. They follow a playbook. That's great advice. Love it.
Yep. Another thing I'd like to say is don't be afraid to go cross industry. We saw this at the beginning of the pandemic. We saw a lot of great sales talent come out of the restaurant industry, the hospitality industry, car rental industry. Don't be afraid. If someone understands people, they have those skills and they understand the sales process and they've been successful in another industry, there's no reason you can't teach them the technical side of the job. You have your sales engineers to back them up, but they know the flow. Don't be afraid to go cross industry. There's some great talent out there just waiting for their next opportunity.
Yeah, I think you can teach people to be technical, the ability to communicate and do things that you need a salesperson to do. Some of those things you can't teach, can you?
No, I truly believe you're born with people skills, or you're not. The sales skills, the people skills, they are definitely able to go across industries. So
yeah.
Another great way is, if you have some great sales talent on your team, why not ask that sales talent to do a referral? They probably know some other great salespeople from their networking events. And guess what? You know who A talent wants to work with? A players. A players want to work with A players. So, and A players know A players out there. And by being an internal referral, they're not going to recommend some slacker because it's going to look bad on them. So don't be afraid to go to your internal team that's already on board and ask them for some referrals. That's a great, and pay them and make it public. Give them a $500 Amazon gift card or a $1,000 Amazon gift card, because we all know recruiters, they're expensive. They're good at what they do, but they're expensive. But if if you can save yourself $20,000, by golly, congratulate that team player with a $1,000 gift card, and do it in front of the whole team. Rewards and recognition. We're going to get into that a little later on when we start talking retention, but make it public so other people are like, hey, Mike just got $1,000 for recommending. I know some good people. I want that. Holidays are coming. I want that gift card. So it's a great way to bring in some great candidates. Another one that I see a lot of owners, they miss. You should have a top 10 candidate list. You should have that list of 10 individuals from inside and outside the industry that maybe you approached and you asked if they were interested and they said no. And I'm a firm believer that a no is not a no. A no is just a not right now. And you keep in touch with them, just like a big in the sales process. If a prospect says no, you stay in touch with them. You never know what's going to change. So build that top 10 list, take them to lunch, meet them up for a drink, meet them up for a cup of coffee, stay in touch, because you never know when their current situation is going to change and they're going to be ready for that next opportunity. What do you think, Mike? Good one?
I love it. This is great stuff. I could just sit back and listen to you talk about this. And there's some key things that, I've talked to a lot of people who in the MSP space and in any space who've hired people and where it's gone really, really bad. And I'd love to talk about that a little bit, the mistakes that people make when they hire. And I think you hit on it when you first opened up, make sure you understand what you want the person to do, have goals. I think my take on this, and you've dealt with it more, is that I think people tend to not realize what a salesperson should be and do. And then they hire somebody and they give them this much stuff when they should be really, that salesperson should be responsible for this much stuff. And I can't maneuver around the microphone here, but you get the idea. They're expecting them to deliver the world on a silver platter in a couple weeks. After a month, they're like, well, why aren't they, why don't you have a full booked schedule yet?
Right.
So expectations are sometimes out of control. And I'd love to have you talk a little bit about that. I don't mean to take you off track because
yeah, we're gonna get to interviewing here shortly. So, in fact, it's a great segue. So, the last one I want to talk about as far as recruiting is targeted digital ads. Now, think about it. You're driving down the road. You go past a certain restaurant. I shouldn't say you're driving. The wife's driving, and you're flipping through Facebook, and all of a sudden, an ad comes up for a local store. That's a geo ad. They basically said, anyone who enters this block, show them this ad. Well, guess what? You can do that towards your competitors. You can actually run help wanted ads targeted directly at your competitor's place of business. And we all know people use social media while at work. So you can target the individual. And then once they go to your website to see what's going on, you drop a cookie, and then you can use the Google remarketing to continually serve up ads. Again, you just need to know when they're having that bad day and their situation has changed and now they're ready for a new opportunity. It's a super low cost, super targeted way to recruit talent today.
Where I think is actually a cool place to think about recruiting talent in a way, TikTok.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. Guess who is on TikTok that is trying to recruit talent or help people get jobs?
Would that be Mr. Mike Brooks?
LinkedIn.
Oh, LinkedIn. Wow.
Yeah. You can follow LinkedIn on TikTok and it's really, really interesting. They're basically they're talking to that audience of people that may be looking for jobs and educating them on how to do it, how to up your, how to work on your resume. I mean, it's really interesting for me to see because people don't think of TikTok as a place where I think businesses participate, but LinkedIn's on there and it's working.
Yeah. A lot of large organizations are on there. Understand, we had Gary Vee as the keynote speaker. He's all in on TikTok. And as he said, you have to know where your target audience. If you were trying to recruit, I would say, Mike, you or I would not say, TikTok's probably the best way. But if you're looking for that fresh out of college, heck yeah, that's a great platform to target. Be where the eyeballs are. So now we've identified the type of candidates we want to speak to. So let's talk about the interviewing process and understand that retention starts at the interviewing stage. It's all about the experience. The candidate experience becomes the employee experience. So, I want to go back to talking about that job description. So, some of the listeners might be like, Todd, I have no idea what should be in my sales job description. Where do I even start? Well, there's, when your MSP customers have a question about technology, what do they go? They call you. You're their consultant. So there are plenty of sales consultants out there that will help you define your job description and even coach you and assist in the interviewing process. One person I love to refer to, and he's fantastic at what he does, is Mr. Mike Schmidtman from Transformers. He's available. He will help you define that job description. He'll actually, he is a sales professional, has been. comes from our industry. He'll actually interview your candidates for you and let you know if he thinks they're going to be successful in sales or not. Hashtag not sponsored. So, don't be afraid to go out and ask some of your peers. Maybe, if you're in an MSP peer group, be it, ConnectWise Evolve or Taylor Business Groups or any of the many others out there, bounce that job description off some of your peers and have them read that job description. Make sure you're being realistic. And then when it comes to the interviewing, I highly recommend everybody goes out and does a little homework and learns the top grading process developed by Bradford Smart. And what that is a process that helps you define who the A player candidates are and how to target and bring them in and really filter through and make sure that you're hiring true top tier talent. Their numbers have shown that organizations that have adopted top grading have increased the number or the percentage of A hires from under 20% to over 80%. Think of the difference that would make in your organization, regardless of role. Yes, we're talking about sales today, but from an operations or from any type of leadership or technical role, if you could increase the number of A players on your team from less than 20% to over 80%, what that would do for overall operations from a growth standpoint.
Interesting. And what's that resource again?
That is, it's called the top grading. It's
Grading.
a hiring process, and it's by Bradford Smart.
Excellent.
Bradford Smart, Smart. He's got books and everything, but if you go up to YouTube and you just search that, his full-length seminar is available on there for consumption.
Great tip. I'm going to go check that out. Absolutely.
And make sure, you move your candidates through the interviewing process smartly. Don't do 30 interviews. Don't drag it out. Again, the whole retention, the employee experience starts in the interviewing process. It's called candidate experience. Treat them with respect. Treat them like you would any prospect that you're selling your services to. Because you are literally selling your company to them, telling them why they want to join you versus other organizations out there. Again, it is a very much a candidate's market.
And do you tell them? Do you get them to sell you a pen?
No.
Sell me this pen. What was that? The Wolf of Wall Street, right?
The Wolf of Wall Street. So, here's a little tidbit I love doing that, and you'll hear it in top grading. It's one of my favorite tips from that process is when it comes to references during the interview process, ask them for a couple of past employers, leaders, managers, and ask them if you mind if they write it down and show them that you're writing it down. If they get nervous, red flag. And then when you say, if they make it through the process, hey, can I reach out to them? If they do the old, whoops, sorry, folks. If they put the hand up in front of the face, they're hiding something. Top talent, A players will not only be like, yeah, reach out to them because they left on such great terms that they know that manager is going to give them a great referral. And here's another, this one differentiates. When it comes time to do the reference check, have the candidate set up the call where they have to reach out to the prior employer, get the date, the time, and send out the calendar interviews.
Interesting.
So
that's a great tip.
Yep. And see how committed they are to the process. Top talent will do it. If they want the opportunity and they're go-getters, they will do it.
100%.
Couple quick tips there.
That's fantastic.
Yep. Retention. Well, retention starts again day one, even before day one, that whole interviewing process. But day one, make sure you have the supplies ready, especially when it comes to sales. Have the business card ready to go. Have the shirts ready to go. Have the laptop configured, ready to go. Have them set up in all the systems. So they walk in day one, that employee is ready to go. And name a mentor. And this goes across all roles. If it's an engineering role or a sales role, assign them a peer that they can go to. Hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? Where do I find this? Somebody who's in that same role And that way they'll also be able to ask questions. Give them that playbook, the sales playbook. Jack Daly swears by playbooks. We can go back to that whole college. Do you think any leading college football team takes to the field without having a playbook?
Nope.
If they did, how successful would they be?
Right. Yeah. Not if they want to win, they don't.
Right. So you got to have those playbooks. And this way that new employee has someone they can turn to and ask questions. So it's very important that you have that laid out. Also, clearly define a career development plan for them. Nobody just wants to get into a role and stay at that role forever and ever. We all want to move forward. We want to move up. We want to learn new skills. We want to take on additional responsibilities. So having a clearly laid out career development plan is very important, so that the candidate / the employee knows that you are committed to their professional growth. Maybe it's sending them off to some sort of training. Maybe it's getting them certain certifications. And that becomes part of their feedback, which is my next point is make sure you're giving your team regular feedback. Everybody wants to know what they're doing right, and A players want to know what they're doing wrong so that they can fix it, because you don't know what you don't know. LinkedIn did a survey a while back about, they basically went out to 10,000 people who had recently changed jobs. And they asked them, what was the number one reason for you taking that new opportunity? And it wasn't money. It was lack of recognition, lack of feedback. So make sure you're giving feedback and encouraging, and definitely be recognizing them. When you get a big win, like here at IT by Design, every time we close a deal, every time one of our sales team closes a deal, an email goes out to the company. Hey, just closed such and such deal. And oh man, the emails that fly, great job, awesome, woohoo, here we go. They fly around, and it just keeps the whole team's morale up. So recognition is quite important. I talked a little bit about regular feedback, salary adjustments. Especially in today, maybe you've had some great talent on board and they've been on board for a while. Salaries have gone up. In fact, if you go out to LinkedIn, I just shared an article today about employee retention. And one of the things they said is, if you're recruiting new talent and the starting salaries have gone up just because it's the candidate's market, make sure you're taking care of your current employees too, adjusting their salary. Otherwise, guess what? They may go looking. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. What they're calling it? We're calling it the Great Resignation.
The Great Resignation. Yep. And in today's article really says the Great Resignation is becoming harder and harder on the employers, because they're not reacting quick enough from A, recognition, and B, that salary adjustment.
Right. I read an article. I've read a couple of articles now that say that this is going to be a forever thing. I kind of doubt that. I've lived through a bunch of recessions and ups and downs, and every time they said it was going to continue forever, but it never does. But
right, yeah, everything's we've both been around. We know it goes up and down.
Go up and down.
So Mike, guess what? Somebody just came to you. Your leading sales guy just came to you, Mike, and they resigned. What do you do?
Panic.
They've accepted another opportunity. What do you do? How do you set the table to get them back?
Yeah, that's a great question. I wish I asked you that question, because I don't know the answer to it.
So another one of my little favorite tips that I love sharing with MSPs is I called it the silver ticket, gold ticket. And in full disclosure, I stole it from the military. So what the military found is they were losing great soldiers and sailors to the civilian world. But a lot of them go out to the civilian world and realize, whoa, this doesn't have the discipline, the team structure, what they're used to. But they didn't think to come back. So what the military has actually done is they've offered them what they call the silver ticket, which is good for 6 months, and the golden ticket, which is good for a full 12 months. And basically what you do is you tell them, you are welcome to come back. Let's use the gold ticket. Anytime in the next 12 months, you will walk right back into your position, same level of seniority. If their amount of vacation time has gone up, everything goes right back to where it was. All the retirement benefits goes right back to where it was the day they left. It's like they never left. But it's you formally telling them I will take you back. You have been a great employee. I support your decision to go try new things. I'm not going to hold you back. But if the grass is not greener over there, please come back. I'd love to have you rejoin the team. And guess what? You take that name and you drop it on that top 10 candidate list, and you're staying in touch with that person. Because a lot of times somebody leaves a job and they're like, man, I can't believe I left Mike. I don't know if Mike will take me back. And Mike's over there going, man, I wish I could get Todd back. I wish I could get Todd back on my team. Now, we both want the same thing. It's just we're not communicating about it. So this really formalizes communicating about it and setting that table. So I have blabbed for about 30 minutes here, Mike. Are there any questions out there from our listeners?
I think let's give listeners a moment to put some comments in if you have some questions for Todd here. And so I guess I wanted to ask you, you answered my question, because my answer was, if they come to me and they quit, I just, get passive aggressive and unfriend them on social media, but that was wrong. So now you fixed me.
Yep. You got to keep good talent.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I don't think we have any comments in here, but this is great stuff. I don't even know what to ask you. You answered like my questions plus. So
I don't know. No questions. I either dazzled them with my brilliance or I have absolutely baffled them with my bolt. Well,
Well, yeah. Now let's do this. Let's put up your URL for IT by Design.
Yep. www.itbd.net.
Do you guys? Yeah. Thank you for saying that, because we're live, but we're also recording a podcast and they can't see it, can they? So it's www.itbd.net.
And our Build It live show, and many of our listeners is buildit-live.net. And what makes that show different is there's no product pitches. Mike, you've been to it. The folks. It's 44 breakouts. Each and every breakout has a template, a tool. In fact, the first Build It, I actually did a 45-minute session on that top grading, and I gave away a template for the reference, the top 10 list. And I also gave away a template for building out that job scorecard. So we go over that type of material, and there's service delivery tracks. There's a security track. It's all the different roles, and 100% MSP focused. And then we also have, for more advanced education, we have our communities of practice, and we're going to talk specifically about our sales community of practice. We actually have a year-long program. It's mentoring by none other than Jack Daly. It's at Sales Management, where he talks a lot about this. He talks about instilling that winning atmosphere. He talks about building that job description. He talks about recruiting, interviewing, management, building out the playbooks. So he teaches not how to sell, but how to be a sales manager, which is a completely different skill set. A lot of organizations make the mistake of taking their salesperson and go, you're a great salesman. You're crushing the numbers. Why don't you lead the team? And not everybody has that background or the skills required. So our sales leadership COP, community of practice, we spend a year training people how to do that. So we're all about developing the MSPs, developing leaders through our Build It Live. And if you're looking for talent, we all know how tough talent is to find. If you need a level 1 or a level 2 engineer, the team at ITBI Design, itbd.net, we'd love to help you out. And that's my little commercial.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here, Todd. We got to definitely get you back on here again. Let's see. We do have a question. Charles Rogers is popped up here.
Needing new tech talent. What was the suggestion for job description? So from a technical talent, figure out, do a job scorecard. You can actually just Google that. If you need one, you can go up to builditu.net. You can actually log in for free, and you can find a template there. But lay out not just, all that wordy one. Lay it out in bulleted. If you Google job scorecard, you'll find a template, and that literally lays out, 10% of your time will be doing this, 20% doing that. And in that job card, make sure you're putting development, technical, professional development in there. So that your engineers are growing their skill set, because that's important to stay competitive. And it's also one of the things that's going to attract a person to your organization when they see you are committed to growing them.
Cool.
Charles, if you can find me on LinkedIn, I'd also be very happy to share our job scorecard that we use here at IT by Design with you.
Awesome. And I posted my comment here to share a survey. I'd love for folks to take that. Obviously, if you're listening to the podcast, you can't see that, and I don't have a good link to drive you to, because it's all sorts of forms.gle numbers. But that, if you find this post on my LinkedIn, my personal LinkedIn, look for me, Mike S. Brooks. Go to Audit for IT, our Facebook page, and our YouTube channel. You'll see that in the comments, and that is a survey about sales recruitment, about looking to understand what you're looking to do. Is this important to you, and how important to you is it? Just a little survey, quick, easy, nothing, no gate on it. You don't have to enter your contact information. So we'd appreciate it if you all took that. And Todd, thank you so much for being here, man.
And Mike, if I could just add on to that, if you search Todd Billiar, it is hard to believe, but I am literally the only Todd Billiar in the world. I've yet to find another one. So if you search for me on LinkedIn, search for me on Facebook, search for me on Instagram, you will find me. I am literally the only one.
Lucky dog. One
of a kind, baby. One of a kind.
Tell you, Todd, I was on social media pretty early on. I started on Facebook like the moment I was eligible to start. I was on Twitter pretty early. I was on LinkedIn wicked early. And I was like a day late to get my name, because 10 other Mike Brookses were. So I'm Mike S.
We
Brooks.
all know there's only one Mike Brooks. There's only one Mike Brooks in the IT channel.
Right.
I know that guy, and he's here. Here comes the Billiar point.
Woo! All right. Thank you, Todd, for being here. And thank everybody for watching. Now I'm fumbling with my my podcast music, so I'm going to do a little outro.
All right.
Here, and say thank you to Todd for being here. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And until we meet again, keep on elevating IT.
Oh, I'm supposed to dance here.
Right. You got to dance over the music. You can sing too.
Oh, no, you all don't want that.
All right. And thank you, everybody listening live.
Thank you, everyone.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye, all.